Welcome back, JDE professionals. We've got a bug in our orchestration. So today we're discussing a section from the Orchestrator Studio Complete Reference Guide, and the subject is how to debug an orchestration. This functionality was introduced in Tools Release 9.2.4.3. Previous to this, we had to use the AIS log or the HTML log or the debug log. Now we can follow the flow of data through the orchestration to determine the source of the failure. In our previous video, we created an orchestration to monitor F90710 RTE event transfer table. Here we have a service request that obtains a count of records in the file. It then passes this count to the alert rule. And if the rule is true, it sends the alert message. But if it is false, it then checks the warning rule. If the warning rule is true, it then sends the warning email. But if it's false, then no action is required. So let's run it again and click on debug, and you see the orchestration in debug mode with the breakpoints the same as you would in E1 debugger. To enable the breakpoints, just click on the circles. We'll do them all first. On the right hand side you have different options, the first being run resume, which we'll click now. It stops at the service request because that's the first breakpoint. Now you can see the input data and the data key. Then you have the last step. And finally the output tab, which shows the JSON output of 0. Now we click run again and it stops at the next breakpoint. And if we click the data, last step and output tabs, you can access the various information for each. Click run resume again and it goes to the next breakpoint. To stop the orchestration, click this stop button. You can show and hide the output. You can clear all breakpoints with this tab. And finally you have the quit, to quit debug. If you run the orchestration with no breakpoints, it will run straight through, but it will show you the path it took. Now let's create 8 records in the F90710 event transfer table, which should give us a warning because we have more than 5 records but less than 11. Take note that we've set a breakpoint on the alert rule and the warning message. Now we execute the orchestration and it stops at the first breakpoint, the alert rule, and shows a count of 8, which gives a result of false. Now we're going to step forward just like in E1 debugger, and it takes 1 step to the warning rule. Even though there's no breakpoint, we still stop at the warning rule because we only took 1 step. The rule checks if the count is greater than 5. The count is 8, so the result is true. Whether we hit the step or run at this point, it will stop at the notify message because we have a breakpoint set here also, and the path it took to get there is depicted visually. If you take a step forward at this point, it completes the orchestration. Now let's test the alert state after creating some more records for a count of 12. Click the run button, which will take us to our first breakpoint. Click run again and it takes us to the notify message because the rule gave a true result. When we first created this orchestration, even though we had the correct number of records in the F90710 to trigger an alert or warning message, it was always showing false pictorially. Without this debug function, the only option would be to check the log files. I already knew that we should have had true results, so I reviewed the rules and found that the rule type had been developed as a string, but should be numeric. So I changed it to numeric. Also, the literal value had not been selected, so the literal type was not selected. So in this case, I selected the literal and literal value type to numeric. I changed both rules and everything started to work as expected. So, with this debugger, you can see the flow pictorially, and then set the breakpoints accordingly to identify the issue you're encountering. It's a beautiful thing, truly. So there you have it. Remember, this is a very small section from the Orchestrator Studio Complete Reference, and we keep adding to the guide as new functionality is added to Orchestrator Studio. This is a must-have guide and will save you hundreds of hours and thousands of dollars. It's a very small, surefire investment that will pay big returns. Tell your boss you need this guide and that it only costs $499 USD. That's all for now. Bye-bye.